Hello, everyone. This is Damo. This is episode 2 of the Modern Boomer podcast. Coming back at you again. This time a little more set and ready. I think from the first one, we got some good topics today. Actually, got quite a few topics today. Tech, politics, history. I'm sure it'll be covering all sorts of interesting things. And then a little conversation about a project we've been trying to bring to you. A little Let's Play we play that worked about as well as Square Wheels. So
yeah, it's unfortunate. We were really hoping that this was going to be great, and we're going to have to pick something else because it did not go well.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. It wasn't great, and I'm sure you'll see some content on that soon. But yeah,
you're looking good.
Haircut. Thanks. This one thing about working from home is you don't always, you're at home a lot, on cam all the time, and it's easy to like get kind of carried away and not really, plus one thing I've learned over the years as a man is men are not great at good styling when it comes to trimming your beard and managing your hair. We just don't do great at it for whatever reason. And I've had some skills, but I got to go see the people down at the place, and not sponsored, but I go to Floyd's here in Colorado, and there's a couple of hairdressers I go down there specifically, and they always take good care of me. So I recommend it. You know what they say, a beard's man is the male version of makeup. So I got to have them give me a jawline. You know what I mean?
So what does that cost you to go to like one of the more boutique-y places versus those who might go to, Supercuts or Sports Clips or any of those other places?
Well, it's never going to be like what my wife pays when she goes to get her hair done. Sometimes hers anywhere between the mid 200s to the mid 400s in value.
Whoa!
Ask your lady what her hair cost is. Katie's isn't too bad. Yeah, Katie. And the thing is, it's a lot of cut and color. But for me, full beard trim, eyebrows, things like that, because God gave me caterpillars for eyebrows. It runs me about $45, $50. That's not including a tip. And if they're good, some of those girls are fantastic. They're nice. They talk to you. You have same political views, things like that. I always give them a good tip. $25. But
I kind of mix it up. I've gone to a place kind of like that you've gone to in Chester, New Jersey, and they're really good. They take their time. You can tell that they really, really want to make sure it's right. They have some like higher end tricks, I guess. I'm not a hairdresser, so I don't know all of them, but you can tell that they know what they're doing. Right.
Yeah.
And they charge like that. So, it's based on their, seniority and skill set.
Yeah.
And at this place I go to, they can kind of pick their price. Like you can go to a different hairstylist in there.
Okay.
And one person's haircut may not be the same as if you got a cut by the other person.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting. But every once in a while, I'll be like, you know what? I just need a trim. I'm just going to Great Clips.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to crap on Great Clips or Cost Cutters or whatever, because they all have their beautician's license, things like that. But I do like a nice straight razor. And in places like the state of Colorado, you have to have a barber's license because of the blade. And anytime it comes with certain cutting of the neckline and certain things like that, you have to have a barber's license. Right. And so they all carry a barber's license. Most of them do. And so you pay for that. But yeah, I was always a Great Clips guy. And, in the military days and in my younger years, a high fade, anybody can do that. However, I've had a couple mistakes over the years trying to do more complicated stuff, but Floyd's has never done me wrong. And I've come in and had some weird requests. I had lost a ton of weight, and I had a real fat, like a real like for those kind of old, like 1950s, 1940s, kind of like officer, almost like German officer haircut, where like your buzz on the sides, but you flop it over. I don't know. Have you ever seen Peaky Blinders? Kind of looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was addicted to that. I was addicted to that for a while, and Floyd's did it, man. They made it work somehow because I do not have that kind of jawline. But
I thought Floyd's like, listen, man, you shouldn't do it.
No, they're like, we'll take your money, we'll do the best we can. And,
my wife, whatever you like.
Yeah, I loved it. My wife was like, you're coming off a little, like you're gonna invade a country. I'm like, that's good. It's good.
Yeah, you don't want to hold like that little hairbrush, black comb in front of your nose. You don't want to look like that. Anyway, yes. So there's a lot of interesting things happened recently. So it's kind of a great time to have a talk I mean, some of the stuff that we've been putting down is like Apple just came out with a whole bunch of crap. There's a new tablet that I'm interested in that I'm just purchasing that's supposed to come by here Wednesday of this week, and I'm going to do a head-to-head video. We'll talk a little bit about that. What else we got? We talked about our We Play. There's a war going on, right?
So there is a conflict. Yeah, for once, not in the Middle East.
Conflict, yes. Not tremendously far away.
But some new games coming out.
Yeah, new games coming out that we want to try, and we hope the devs somehow get a hold of this because we'd like to beta test it.
Yeah, and, I think we might have missed that window, but yeah,
I
hope we didn't.
Have. But you know what? Maybe we can try to gain some limited clout. Hey, our podcast has like 25 views, so like, why don't you let us test your game and review it online? But
yeah, let me get some of that action.
Doesn't hurt to ask. So I'm an Apple fanboy. I remember when I first met you guys, I used to play games kind of like how your wife used to play them. We were playing them on boot camp. I had the coffee can Mac Pro, the one that looked like a little black cylinder.
Yeah.
It had two GPUs in it, both of which were more designer functioning GPUs or for design and not so much for gaming. I guess the architecture is slightly different. Had a pretty decent processor. They were using Intel processors back there and not their own Apple Silicon. And I was determined to use one computer for everything. And that was going to be how it was. And I actually learned how to use WinClone and clone my boot camp drive to an external drive. And I used to run my external Windows drive off of a Thunderbolt cable. And it had, so I didn't take up the rest of my Mac hard drive. And I used to boot off the separate SSD. And I would just go to town, and no matter how much money I put into that Mac, I just couldn't get anywhere near to the ability that you guys had on PC. And I've had PCs way before this, but I figured I'd give it a try to just not have to have two PCs. And I've given up on that, so now I have two PCs. But so what do you think of the performance of this Mac Studio? I mean, I know we were looking a little bit at the webpage about what their claims are, and just wondering from a software engineer, what's your take on some of the claims that they put on the website, and what do you think of the machine?
Well, for the PC guys out there, I am by no means a Mac fanboy. I do own an Apple iPhone, but I just want the blue text feature, really. I pay the extra money, so I have blue text messaging. But outside of that, Apple is they've done some stuff over the years, which I'd say is on the borderline of inappropriate. But when we were reading the fine print, I mean, they really did test against notable suites, notable software packages, normal, workloads, things like that. The thing here that I think people need to understand is that the M1 architecture's ARM. For those who don't know, that stands for Advanced RISC Machines, and RISC stands for Reduced Instruction Set Computing. x86, which is architecture that like Intel and AMD run off, is very old CPU architecture, and it's had things piled on and piled on and piled on, and then they wrote stuff over all the stuff piled on to make it simpler, and then so it's a lot more overhead. That's where that reduced instruction set comes from. Is that there's a lot less going on, and in some cases that brings a lot of performance, less power requirements, things like that. You can but there's a cost to it as well, because you have to end up writing more implementation to do some of the things that x86 does on its own. With that being said, software suites that are designed around ARM architecture, that RISC architecture, and especially whatever Apple's got going on their proprietary side, it's a hard one to argue. You're arguing planes to cars in some situations, and so I think in Apple's world right now, they're going to win on that workload side. I hate to say, as an Intel fanboy, as a PC lover, they may win in that current architecture, that current kind of workload environment. But until Intel comes up or we move forward with the next architecture. But that's tough because you got years and years and years of foundation built on top of x86. So we'll see.
Right.
But I also like to
It's
argue,
just hard to switch over.
yeah, it is. It's a different ballpark. You're speaking a different language under the hood, and you have to think how that bubbles up to the top. So, in addition to the different architectures, I think they're on 5 nanometer now, and they're kind of following the chiplet design, where they're kind of smashing 2 chips together in one large chip, to kind of push out as much power as they can, which is what AMD and Intel did for their new CPUs. In addition to that, the other thing that I think Apple is doing is, I don't know, they're using that 5 nanometer. They're going down another size. They're down another size, transistor size. But again, that's also kind of the whole nanometer thing is a sales ploy. It's a sales technique because everybody measures their stuff different depending on the transistors they have, things like that. Intel had more transistors per chip on their 14 plus super, plus Intel. When AMD was on their 10 nanometer. Were they faster? No, but they were packing in more, and they just because the way the transistor design is, things like that. But they are the newer transistor side, things like that. So I know the 12th gen just came out, but some of that stuff's been in works for a while.
Right.
So let's just see what the future holds. But yeah, I think Apple's being honest here with what they're targeting. My only argument is how many people are going to be using Houdini and some of these advanced workloads. I saw Premiere and some of the Adobe stack in there, relatable. But let's see it against games like the New World. You want to talk about this fast GPU that does all these crazy things that's almost higher or more proficient than a 3090, but that's a great thing for video rendering. But people don't buy 3090s for Premiere. People buy 3090s to play Tarkov and to play the New World and to play, Battlefield 2042 and whatever horrible game you're into. And if they're not comparing those stats, and that means nothing to a lot of people. The GPU, the discrete graphics card side. Oh, we can stream what they say, 6 streams of 8K video. But again,
who needs that?
People who need it, you know what I mean?
Right. I do think that by the name Studio, I think they're looking for it to be more of an industrial workload machine than I do feel that it's a personal computer. But I think those are Apple's strongest markets. The market is a PC non-gamer, right? It's your email person. It's maybe somebody with a little bit of creative desires,
right?
Web people who want to integrate all the Apple ecosystem together. That's the one hand. And then the other hand is the people who always bought the Mac Pros. Those are the people working in the film industry, high-end graphic arts industry, and even some of the video game level designer industries.
Right.
So they're trying to target that. But I agree. I mean, I've been trying to get New World running on a program called Crossover, which is basically a wrapper.
That's a lot of overhead.
Based on wine.
It's a lot of overhead.
Basically, this is what you have to do, right? When you're dealing with 2 discrete different architectures, you are trying to translate in this case, you're translating some Mac code to PC code, and also you're doing x86 instructions translated over to M1, and you're trying not to lose that much performance in the process. The issue with I was actually able to get the title screen running on New World.
Okay.
Choosing the character, but the problem was the anti-cheat. The anti-cheat would find it and not allow the game to launch. Now, interestingly enough, to branch off into a different topic, is you got the Steam Deck coming out. So that's Valve's handheld.
That's Linux.
That's Linux device, right?
Yeah.
So they have to get all of their games running their anti-cheat software on Linux.
Right.
So they have to, all the what is it? What's the anti-cheat software? It looks like the little panda that comes up in the corner.
Easy anti-cheat or
easy anti-cheat, something like that. So that I think is the anti-cheat that New World uses, and they just released that they were going to be updating the anti-cheat software to work with Linux.
Okay.
But they also said somewhere in some of the notes that it would also be able to be worked. It would also able to function on Mac computers, provided the developers kind of flip that switch on their end and allowed it.
Okay.
So if they flip that switch, then I can run New World.
Yeah.
And do a head-to-head comparison, but it's hard because there's only a couple of different of like high-end productivity pieces of software that's universal between the both computers that you can really test apples to apples.
Right. Well, and you know, good. You know, you're talking about all that overhead to do the emulation to be able to run these games on different platforms. I mean, when you watch, and I'm sure, you know, this may date me a little bit, like C-SPAN, or if you watch like any of the news and they have somebody doing the translation, or like our buddy Axel, and he would translate Turkish. You can hear him having to process it and then bring it out in the English variation, and those kind of things are no different in the computer world. I mean, there really is a lot of buffering and middleman stuff, and I can see where the anti-cheats conflict, because they have to have a lot of direct access to whatever the hardware is for, you know, identification and getting that low level integration to try to beat people from, you know, doing like driver hacks where they boot their hacks up in a driver and Windows boot and things like that, and having that middleman piece of software just adds another level of complexity and another level of exploitation. So I'm interested to see where they move forward with that, and I'm interested to see what the performance is. I think, you know, my argument with Apple using, you know, discrete GPUs like the 3090 and the 3050 Ti is like, okay, well, people who are buying studio workloads like that often aren't times running 3090s. They're running Titans, they're running Ampere, right? They're running these high-end GPUs that are designed for that workload. They have mass amounts of video RAM, or they have numerous chiplets built into them and things like that. And again, I don't have a ton of knowledge in that kind of server workstation GPU area, but I know that, like, you know, back there's like the Quadro, you know, things like that, which were Premiere. They were for Adobe Photoshop. And why are they comparing against those? You know what I mean? Why aren't they comparing against that? And I want to see them fight against Intel's Iris stuff that's coming out, or whatever it is. It's not Iris, it's ARC, right? RARC. There's a new GPU. Nonetheless, I think Apple's, you know, I think they have a good product. I think they're going to really come in there for what they have available to them and run that market. And that's always what Apple's done. They've always run their side of the fence, and they're constantly trying to siphon over, and they will. But until you can run Tarkov on that architecture, I don't think you're gonna that comparison doesn't mean much to people. You know. So
yeah, and I have two comments about that. One thing, somebody who's watched, like, God, I used to take days off of work just to watch the Apple keynotes. One thing I noticed is that I think Apple's taken a little bit of a different stance, because they used to have very, very, very strong claims of performance and power and battery life and all this and that. But then, like, Linus Tech Tips would get a hold of the laptop, right? And they'd run, and they'd find that the freaking Intel CPU was throttled to shit. And, like, you know,
because the heat.
Temps, it would drop to like 80% of performance. And you know, they weren't necessarily counting that in their performance graphs, like it was talking about before it throttled.
Yeah.
Now,
perfect conditions.
Since the M1, yes, if you were like running your laptop on like -10 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's outside in the Arctic.
Right. So now, though, but with the Macs, because the heat isn't really as much of an issue, I'm finding more often that when reviewers get a hold of these devices, they're almost a little bit more wowed than what Apple said. And I think that might be just, obviously, they probably had us take a little bit of a step back because they know that people were getting these computers. And I think that's one of the things that drove them out of Intel's, you know, backseat of their car, because it was just, you know, the things were just getting too hot and they weren't able to get the performance. And now they have these weird claims like 30 hours of like battery life or 30 days of battery life if you don't use your laptop and you don't have to recharge it. You know, crazy stuff like this. So
that's the luxury of being that RISC architecture, that ARM design, is that it's with reduced instructions is reduced energy requirements. You know, it's less muscles in the body to move, and so, like, that's the thing that's always made RISC real powerful, is that you're getting a whole lot of oomph out of a whole lot less. And Intel, and again, I'm not a Mac fanboy. I'm going to reiterate that as much as I can, but Apple has always pushed the boundaries of what was possible in that generation when it came to cooling and size. And when you're putting in a desktop CPU and basically a monitor size frame, and you're trying to run that at whatever speed Intel has, you know, that's a lot of heat that you have to try to navigate through, like, little areas and and again, Apple's always going to be stupid quiet. And you know, they try to do that. And like, it's like, in the software world, we call it the triangle of want. You know, if you want it fast, then you have to give it, you know, quality, then you're going to raise price, right? You can't have all three. You know, whatever slider in something gets moved around. If you want quality, price goes up, quality goes up, but time goes down. You know what I mean? Like it takes more time. So
Right.
Apple's always try to put all those up at the same time. And you know, I think that was the byproduct of that was heating issues and things like that. So now that they do have that on, you know, under wrap with the ARM architecture, that's great, and I'm excited to see that. But you know, what comes up next? You know, now that we have these performance core concepts and these efficiency cores and performance cores and hybrid CPUs and things like that, and you know, I mean, the 3090 and the kind of the new RTX series stuff was is very powerful, but from a computer engineering standpoint, I really think that NVIDIA was pushing the boundaries of what was available to them and their current design. And I think with Intel joining the game now with their Arc series, and TSMC is always developing stuff, and Samsung's developing new nanometer and chip designs, things like that. I'm really curious what the next generation is, because we can't be, you know, my 3080 pulls like 340 watts or something under load.
Right.
Which is like more than like all three of my laptops combined. So I'm interested to see what the next generation of stuff comes. I think Apple was going to win out, but
yeah, I think the M1 Ultra pulls like 240 watts itself.
Yeah,
but
that's
I mean,
it.
that's a discrete. That's a SoC. So that's like, you know, that's the
GPU and
CPU,
the CPU
together.
Yeah, and it's 20 plus what, 64. So you're talking 84 computational units of some kind on there. That's a lot. That's a lot going on. And then I understand that just, you know, the chiplet itself has all those little sub workers to get it, you know, to help it do its job. So it's impressive. I'm not denying the impressiveness that is Apple's ability to do what they're doing. But until it does stuff that the normal population does, those metrics mean little to nothing. They mean dog shit to the normal world. They mean a lot to the workstation user. However, at the end of the day, I think people are still going to lean towards Windows, because you can tack two 3090s in a system and SLI them now, or whatever it is, NVIDIA Link. You can get motherboards that have 3 or 4 CPU sockets on them now, dual sockets, where you're putting, you know, two 30 core, 220 core Xeons in there. You know, that's going to beat out that M1 all day, left and right. You know, 200-300 gigs of RAM. Like the PCs, especially on the workstation side, those enthusiast builds, they're almost unlimited amount of configurations you can do. And I think that that's why some of these companies will continue to go that route, that you can upgrade, you can change and replace. It's not one stuck unit that's all you get until it dies.
So the second thing I was going to say, and I want to hear what you think about this. Do you think that the trend will be, at least on, let's not talk about the business side or the tech, the high-end tech side. Let's talk just consumers.
Okay.
I think that you think the system, Intel and all these companies, AMD, are eventually going to just embrace an ARM type architecture moving forward after they see the success of the Apple stuff? No.
So even though I held this wonderful title, computer engineer, and I do software engineering work, there's you know, CPU architecture engineers that do just that, and they're going to know a lot more of that answer than I do. I would say, though, that if I had to make a guess, we're looking at maybe a refactored version of x86, so that the migration from old software to new software is more is a more simpler transition. However, I don't know what kind of what roadblocks that they have when it comes to stripping down an architecture as old as some countries in the Eastern Europe right now. You know what I mean? So like, you know, that's a tough one, and I think that they've tried to go ARM, and Intel actually has a series of ARM CPUs, but it's all IoT for your fridge and shit like that. But I don't know. That's a tough one. It's a lot of licensure.
There's a Microsoft Surface model that actually has an ARM processor, but I know that, you know, there's a version of Windows that you can get that's an ARM version of Windows. And then of course they have to have this, you know, like Apple has Rosetta, which is the translation layer that converts, you know, a x86 instruction to M1 instruction. So I guess they have to have that too. But they said that the Surface didn't do as good of a job translating their x86 over to ARM. So like Photoshop was running kind of slow and sluggish because of the instruction changeover.
Well, I think so. Apple falls under my list of software companies that always really invest in the efficiency of the software they write. A good example is like Intel. What if you installed an Intel driver and it's giving you a problem?
Never.
Intel drivers run everything on these computers between your network adapter, your bridge between your CPU. So like, and I think Apple's always done the same thing. I think every time Apple's ever written, as much as I despise Mac OS, sorry Apple, it's just a shitty operating system. It's coming from a guy who hates Windows. Some guy who hates Windows. Oh, you know how hard it is to make a new folder in a Mac? You don't just right click and click new folder. You have to like hold control keys and do all this fucking hoop jumping, to make a folder on a desktop. Is ridiculous. But
it's 2 clicks. You just gotta go in the options menu of your mouse and enable right click.
Okay, yeah, I gotta enable right click.
The Apple mouse only has 1 button on it, which is Apple could cure cancer, but until they take the power plug out of the bottom of their fucking wireless mice, I have no respect for that. That is the worst design. There was a couple blunders in Apple design, and that's always on the list.
Who QA was like,
no one does
this
that.
Is great. Yeah.
Yeah, because they say you can plug it in for like 30 seconds and get like 4 hours of juice out of it. So
that's
you don't need to do that.
That's the correction.
That's their thought process. But anyway, we got right. We got pretty technical there. But other things that Apple launched. They launched finally a consumer display. The consumer display
I'm excited for that, actually.
Is a 5K, I think $1,600 display.
I'm gonna get one.
Are you really?
I want one. I think I'm gonna buy my wife and I one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I always loved them. Do you remember cinemas? Not just kind of to divert. Remember the cinema displays? They were back in the day.
They were enormous.
Yeah, it was like 2013. I just got back home here, and I was doing computer repair. This is way before, like, I was making like $8 an hour doing computer repair for a good colleague of mine, Tim. And shout out to Tim at Colorado Computer Doctors. One of the guys had an old cinema display there, and I ended up buying it from him. And at the time, I had like some crappy Radeon card, and it could barely power that that monitor. But I was so fast, so beautiful, the aluminum bezeled edges.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. I do like aesthetics. That's one of the reasons I love about Apple. They have great aesthetics in their design. So
I do.
The 5K, can you imagine playing like Tarkov in 5K? I don't give a shit if you have 4 3090s. You're gonna have like 9 FPS.
Yes, that's the trade-off.
Right.
But yeah, it's a beautiful monitor. Everybody laughed at their Pro display that they just released. I think it's like $5,000 for that, and the stand itself is another $1,000 if you want it. It's crazy. But this is not like that, luckily.
Which one? That's the Pro display. Oof.
Yeah. Pro, is it Pro XDR or what's it called?
Pro XDR, yeah. $5,000.
Yeah.
They have the Nano, which is $6,000.
Right.
Sheesh.
So that's the coding. And that does not come with the stand. If you want the stand, it's another $1,000.
Listen,
I don't know if it's $1,200 or another $1,000.
It's
gorgeous.
I have the arms, and they have the vase, the Visa mount adapter, Visa, whatever it's called, and that's still $200. That's still $200.
I know, but it is. I've seen it in person. I've gone to Micro Center. I've played with it. It is beautiful.
It looks beautiful.
It is absolutely gorgeous, and it's completely Thunderbolt, of course. But this is a little bit thicker bezels than the Pro XDR. It has 6 speakers on it. It has woofers. It has tweeters. It has a webcam built into it. It's 100 nit brighter than the old LG 5K monitor that they used to have in their stores. Interestingly enough, I don't think that they sell them in the store anymore. So, basically I think that's to get the rating for the HDR on the monitor, but it's the exact same specs as the LG, but just in a prettier package and a little bit brighter. So
I'm
you
excited
can review that when you get it, because I'm not going to buy that.
What's it called? What's it called? It hasn't come out yet, right? So they're still working on it.
No, it's. I think everything that we're talking about is out this Friday.
Okay.
So it's the end of this week. So this is the studio display.
I just paid off
the studio computer and then the studio display.
I just paid off all of our like credit cards and things like that. So a good way to max it out now by
there you go
buying a handful of studio displays.
Yeah, buddy.
It's only $600 though. I mean, that's not bad. That's really not bad for.
What's $600?
The studio display.
No, it's $1,600.
I'm sorry. Did I say? I meant 1,600. Sorry, I was just looking at the number. I've got dyslexia, so bear with me.
Yes,
Yeah, 5K though.
it's going to be pretty. I'll love seeing it in the store.
I would love
And
to
I'll
see
pay
how
for Max
it
Pay.
how it scales. I wonder what the scaling is going to be for something like that. Like, is it going to like because one of the issues with like high resolution monitors is lower resolutions look like dog poop,
Right.
absolute shit. So I'm interested to see how that will look.
Right.
I'm also curious how my computer, which is pretty top of the line, will handle 5K, playing anything at 5K.
Right.
You're talking exponential requirements at some point. So,
And you're going to have to get an adapter because I doubt your 3080 has a Thunderbolt port on it.
I think they have adapters for that. Yeah, I can't imagine.
Oh yeah, they do.
Display
They do,
point.
but some GPUs, even PC GPUs, have a Thunderbolt display, but my 3090 does not. I've got 3 display port and 1
and
HDMI.
HDMI. Yeah.
So,
Same.
So other than that, they released a green iPhone. That's not really a big deal, but usually people say that they're releasing the best colors in the mid-cycle. So the green old iPhones were pretty popular as well. So that they released that. I think they did some Apple TV stuff that's updated, and a new iPad Airs.
I'm sure I'm going to be buying some of those.
Everything got a little bit of bump on an upgrade. So that's the Apple stuff that's been coming out. So let's switch gears and talk about Elden Ring.
Yeah, that's our failure. That's our failure.
Yes,
so
our failure.
We really wanted to bring you guys. So okay, little backstory. I have not played a lot of the Dark Souls series games.
Me neither.
And I'm not shy of hard. And I'm sorry, YouTube, but like step on your ball video games. I've never shied away from that. Those can be the best. They're the most rewarding. But Dark Souls is one of the few games where like I consider like throwing my computer out the window and like signing up to go fight wars overseas in frustration. So when we got Elden Ring, I was a little nervous, but my lack of knowledge, I wasn't ready for how limited the co-op is in that game. Doc and I were like, we're gonna play some co-ops, it'd be great, but it's not really meant to be a co-op game. It's meant to be like, hey, I got this boss who's spreading my cheeks. Can you help me? Can he spread both our cheeks together? And that's like the whole purpose of the co-op. And we didn't realize that at first, And so we're like trying to go past all those limitations in a game that's already hard, and it was failure after failure after failure. And like we actually made some progress through repetition and blood and sweat, but yeah, I don't think that's going to be a let's play we move forward with. I don't think we can. Yeah,
it's not good video.
I think we're going to come out with a compilation of failure.
Frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? Let's play that compilation of failures right now, and we'll edit this in.
Yeah.
Just check this out and understand our pain.
Yeah, and for you guys that are probably on like Apple Podcasts like that, look for the link below at that compilation of sadness. And for all you Elden Ring, Dark Souls,
you'll hear the same audio over and over and again, which will mean that's the death audio.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the first exciting adventure of We Play,
I'm eating these goddamn prawns.
Doc and Damo decide to go into the starter cave of doom.
Oh, what?
Who knows what horrors are lying
Why am I collecting so many goddamn fingers?
in wait for both of them? Will these grade A video game masters be able to escape the terror that awaits them in the first 15 minutes of the game? Stay tuned for We Play Elden Ring.
By the way, not sponsored, but Breckenridge Bourbon.
Soldier of Godric.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
Coming
Soldier of Godric. I don't have any more flasks, so.
You know what I noticed? If you don't lock onto them,
Oh shit!
if you don't lock onto them,
I'm
it's
just some
harder.
shitty mounted guy.
But wait a minute, I don't have any magic to fight him.
We better figure that out, Doc. Oh shit! Oh, he killed me. So he swings at me and then immediately 360s and kills. Oh,
If we go
I'm
down
dead.
there, we're not gonna...
Oh, nope, I fell.
Are you?
On,
No.
Nope, I fell on a little cliff
No,
ledge
you have
thing.
no choice because you can't get back up here, right?
Nope, I'm just gonna go on the next ledge.
All right,
Oh,
I'm gonna follow
nope,
you.
I died. All right, horse boy. Okay.
Not good. Oh my god.
Nah, he got me.
Alright, that was my fault.
I mean, that game is like you have to literally, kill goats and make signs on the ground just to get multiplayer to get going. You
Right.
know, you have to do
Have
like
fingers.
60. Yeah, there's like 3 steps to just get a sign on the ground, and then they have to do 3 steps. And I'm sure there's Dark Souls and Elden Ring fanboys out there like, oh, you're just stupid. It's not that. And I agree. But let me bring you to my realm of Tarkov and tell me you don't think there's some stupid stuff in there as well.
There is.
But yeah,
But you know what makes Dark Souls is hard on a two-prong kind of level. One, that they actually do, and this is a plus to the developers, right? They don't take the easy way out. It's not a reskinned AI mentality where they all kind of attack kind of similarly, and you read how it works, and you just, okay, this is one of those guys who swings this thing around. In one model it's a mace, in another model it's a sword. It's still the same attacks. Just about every enemy in Dark Souls games has its own unique attack style. So it makes it very difficult to remember and memorize the fight styles. So that's the one hard part. And that's them doing their homework, and it's actually more realistic, so whatever. The second part is that they don't goddamn tell you anything. They don't tell you where anything is. Like remember we were watching our friend Soviet. Remember we were watching him play and fight that boss?
Yeah.
So I got to that point.
Okay.
So I went online. I'm like, what's a secret to beating this boss? Like, how is this fight style? What have other people done that help? So I find out that if you go to this different area of the map, far, like not super close, and you hear this wolf howling in this area, I think it's called Mistwood.
Okay.
And if you hear it howling in there, and you go back to the main church where we first started, that little church where the Santa person was, and you talk to them about that. Now, I don't know how the hell you know that the wolf noise is linked to this person, that you would go back and talk to some random NPC about it. It can only be that one. So you talk to that NPC about it, and there's this option that says, I've heard this howling noise in Mistwood. And the guy goes, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. I'm going to give you a gesture. It's a snap gesture. So I'm giving people hints. So, fast forward if you don't want to know how to work this. Yeah. So they give you a gesture, like how you have gestures where you can sit down or laugh or wave your hand. There's a snap. So they give you a snap gesture. They say go to the tallest point in Mistwood and use this gesture, and this guy will come down and talk to you. He will be also looking to kill that boss, and you can summon him to help you fight the boss. So I go to this tower. I look at the top of the tower. I see this big wolf thing sitting up on top. You'd have to like lean the camera all the way back just to see that he's up there. Yeah. Basically, you have to lay down. And then I snap it. The guy, he jumps down. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know you look like a so and so, blah 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 blah." And he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for this guy. He's a like a miscreant and a wretch, and he needs to be destroyed. And if you ever find him, I will help you defeat him." So I go back to where that fight was, where Soviet was, and there's these gold summoning stones, like when we do the summoning stones for each other in the game. I click on him. The wolf guy comes in. The wolf guy beats the shit out of the enemy. I only have to hit him like 3 or 4 times, and he's dead, and the fight's over.
Soviet beat him without the wolf guy, didn't he?
You don't need to. But the point is that how the hell are you supposed to know that?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Like, how many hours do you have to put into this game to figure out a secret like that?
I have to say there's probably lore. There's got to be a lore or something. I mean, but like think about back, we used to play games like Morrowind or Daggerfall, or I'm trying to think of some old RPGs that did not have tutorials. This is how you swing your blade. This is how you open your inventory. Okay, good luck. Here's open world. Nobody tells you what to do. You got to figure it out.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, good luck. I'm going left, or no blinker, and and so I'm sure people know. I'm sure there's something. I'm sure people. I don't know. That's a tough one. And it's one of those things where I
Yeah.
think you talk to people all the time. You just, I don't know. I plan to actually play Elden Ring just by myself. I may do some recordings
Right.
of it, but I'm almost afraid to
Yeah.
put that on the internet. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'll check it. And yeah.
Ask Soviet to help you because I did it on Twitch. I got I think like 10 or 13 viewers. For me, that's good. And they were like cheering us on and giving us hints, which was kind of fun. You hopped on for a second, I saw there.
I remember that. Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And it was much better because Soviet knew like where to go. But I don't even know if Soviet knows that secret. I have to ask him later tonight if he even knows.
Yeah, you should. You should.
About that. But there's a guy who's also done a speed run now in like 30 some minutes, which I have to watch because I think that's the record a day ago. 37 minutes done by the player named Distortion 2.
Okay.
He was a samurai
nuts.
class.
That's nuts.
Right? And 37 minutes, he beat the game.
Well, have you seen that video where the developers from New Vegas
Yes.
they're spectating. And it's funny to see these guys because they're like, we wrote this stuff. We wrote this. I mean, they had very limited time. So,
right.
Defense in that. But like, wow, they're using this exploit. And like, you can hear them. And as a software engineer, I find it so fascinating that because when you write software, especially like games, they're so complex, but you wrote that, you architected it. So like, you kind of already know how the systems connect, and you can see where people are exploiting certain bits of functionality to get the thing that they want. And you're like, first of all, how the fuck did you find that? That's impressive. And then like in the moment, you can hear these guys reverse engineering what he's doing in the stuff that they have to make it work, right? And
Right.
I think that these speedrunners exploit some of that, and
some of them do, yeah.
And I honestly I find that cheating. And I'm sure that I'm gonna get some flack from people who love the speed run. But if you have to break the game to make these incredible times, then I don't think you're speed running. I think you're exploiting your way to success. Now I don't know if that's what the guy to Elden Ring did, but like if you know the best meta combination off the gate, and you just immediately teleport to the fastest boss you need to kill to complete the story, and you know how he wins, and you roll around in a circle using this one meta build, I think that's great. But like, I don't know. I'd like to see a speed run of somebody doing it, through the normal, because like Marwin had a speed run where a guy beat Marwin in like 10 minutes, which I played that game for like a year. So 10 minutes is cheating. And, there's a spell you use or like a scroll or something, and you just jump over into the main mountain, and you have some other spell you use, and you beat that guy, and you beat the game in 10 minutes. You know what I mean? I don't see the enjoyment in that. But and on games like Dark Souls, that's impressive. It's impressive, but kind of weird at the same time.
I don't know what this means, but it's got to be interesting. And I wish I looked it up before before we had this recording. But there's basically, let me just see what it says here. He sprinted through Limgrave, stopping briefly to acquire the horse torrent from Melina before continuing a mad dash to the finish. The late game Volcano Manor region is reached within 18 minutes, and a loaded glitch lets the speedrunner reach Farm Azula within 24 minutes of run starting. It is believed that Distortion 2's Elden Ring speedrun is the fastest in the world. But one player has been fighting Elden Ring using a banana controller. I don't know what the hell that means. Having recently beat Godric the Grafted using a vitamin-rich contraption. The device hooks up multiple bananas to a circuit box and computer, allowing each yellow fruit to act as a single key on a keyboard. While odd, the banana controller can apparently be effective against bosses while also serving as an excellent gaming snack. So I don't know what else to say about that, but it's like, this is an interesting aside. Apparently there's a video of it. I'm going to have to check that out. That's messed up.
And for those who may be curious, the way that works is they put a current through the banana, and when you press on it, it adjusts the resistance, and then they're just measuring it as an input. I mean, it's not rocket science, but using it for fucking Dark Souls is rocket science, in my opinion. It's like that guy who used a steering wheel to play Counter-Strike, and he was like, his name was Killed You With a Wheel. That was his username, and he's like, in competitive games, like he can't look up or down. He can only look left or right. And he's like killing people with the steering wheel, like yeah. Like, what an embarrassment.
That's funny. There was actually Davey 504. If you've ever watched him, he's actually
the bass guy,
bass YouTubist.
Yeah,
YouTubist on in Italy. He's the #1 bass guy in Italy.
I love Davey. Yeah,
but
he's hilarious.
He actually hooked up Super Mario Brothers to be played by different bass strings. So
Wow.
left, right, duck, jump, fireball, whatever. And he was trying to like run the whole course by just playing the bass.
I wonder what that would sound like. It's art, really. It's just electronic art,
Yeah.
you know.
I guess so.
But why would?
Electronic art.
I mean, that's like using a banana to play Dark Souls is like pre-smashing your balls with a hammer, only to have somebody else
It is.
smash them again. Like, I don't understand. But if that's what you enjoy, all the power to you. All the power to you.
Right. So a game that I'm interested in, and I know that you're interested in, is The Day Before.
Yes. So we actually stumbled upon that on Steam.
How did you find it?
Well, because so like a little backstory. I played on an esports team on a really crappy game, and I'm gonna name it, but please don't buy it. It's the worst $7 you're gonna spend. And we played for a long time, and that game sucked. And the other game we played was Counter-Strike, which some of us have been playing for 15. I mean, if you think about it, 10 plus years. And we're just like constantly looking for a new competitive game, something that would be fun and expansive and can really help put the team back together. You'd be surprised how quick a team falls apart if it doesn't have something to mold with. So we were kind of looking on Steam, and I came across that game. And, we were kind of complaining about there being no good MMOs. There's no good open world games anymore, unless you want to play DayZ or The Division or something, or The New World, which is dying, or, it's coming back. We'll talk about that later. But I found that game on Steam. And at first I was like, oh, here we go. Another zombie genre, DayZ clone. It looked like The Division was reskinned. And then we started watching the videos on it. And I went from being very skeptical to being excited. And I've been burnt by early access games like that, but it's not early access. It's going to be full release, and I know in the current political climate, you use the word Russian, everybody gets up in arms, but it's made by a Russian company, and I don't know. It's impressive. It's very impressive, and they make it seem like it's a very persistent world, and there's a lot going on. There's PvP, there's PvE, there's base building, and I think that kind of hits a lot of it. Yeah, the graphics were gorgeous. Impressive. It's a gorgeous game. Yeah, it literally looked like somebody reskinned The Division with more higher end models and better gunplay. So we'll see. We'll see. It's coming out in June, and I'm sure Doc and I will buy that game, and that'll probably be another Let's Play we do. And we'll get a review out for that because I'm very interested in what that looks like. The developer is Fantastic,
FNTASTIC. The publisher is Mytona.
I think they did cell phone games.
If you guys are listening, give us a beta key.
Yeah, I'll beat the dog shit out of your game, and then I'll privately tell you what's wrong with it. I won't put it on YouTube and bitch. As a software engineer, I know what it means to build software and then have it fail, and then people make fun of you. So, who have no idea how that process works. But yes, yeah, please.
It looks beautiful, guys. Check it out. Daybeforegame.com.
Yes.
Watch the trailer. Watch the videos.
Steam has the most content to watch. I hate to say it, but the Steam store page has the most videos to really go through. So,
and we will. We'll get it. I'm sure you and I we're going to get it, and we'll replay it. And good time to plug the Discord.
Yes.
Discord will be on the bottom of all these videos. Also, if you go on Damon or my own YouTube page, Damon, plug your YouTube page.
It's going to be The Real Lord Ranger, or just Lord Ranger, and I'll get a link sent on below for that. And then I have been slacking, and I'm going to admit this right now on TV. I have the website basically ready to go. I ran into a couple of snags doing some stuff. Despite being a senior cloud architect and all that kind of stuff, I hate web development. But I also am a perfectionist, so I'm battling my own inconsistencies.
Demons.
But we're gonna get that done by the end of this week, and get that off for everybody. That's gonna have the first podcast, and it's gonna have all our media and content and friends linked on that. So look out for that website. Don't go there expecting a lot of great fun in like some sort of online game, but it'll help you. It's a great directory to find everything you want for us and our affiliates and things like that. So
right. So Damon does great, hilarious Tarkov videos. I've watched a couple of them more than one time. I've shown my wife them. I'm like, you have to watch this. This is freaking hilarious, and it's a dark humor.
It is dark.
If you play Tarkov, you get it. But you could, even if you don't play Tarkov, it's funny because if you just understand a difficult first person shooter and what you have to go through, and sometimes how frustrating some of those games can be, and then you put he puts the angst and the frustration in like
meme form.
You meme it into other movies, and he puts costumes on people in movies to represent the people in the game, and you know who they are, and you just start laughing because the content of what they're talking about in the movie makes perfect sense to the frustration that is feel. It's very hard to explain, but you just have to watch it and you'll chuckle to yourself. They're not real long videos, but they're very entertaining.
Yeah, I have some more coming out. I appreciate the positive feedback on that. Yeah, for my Tarkov guys, I got to shout out to Kroger. Krogr. He's a lot of my motivation. There's another guy who does some funny meme videos that kind of fell through. And Tarkov is a game where you can't do long clips. It's just too many slow moments. But when the action happens, so much happens at once. And there's a lot to extract from that. And we played a lot of fun people who make it entertaining and really provide some stuff. So I try to make the memes out of it because, again, Tarkov is the Dark Souls of first-person shooters. So it's fun to make that kind of stuff. But I got some new videos coming out soon for that. I need to keep the channel updated. I've got a lot of clips from friends that have been returning some content. But and I do plan to get some other things up there, some tech videos. I got some funny clips playing games with my wife who's new to PC games, so that's entertaining. Like walking off cliffs numerous times after doing it once before, but
right,
that's neither here or there. But
well,
but hey, I want to shout out Doc's page because I can't do the filming and looking and opening boxes and all the tech stuff. And I've watched every video on your page, and actually I think I've messaged you at like 2 a.m. been like, hey, I was watching this video. But yeah, no, we'll get all our content listed. Check it out. I mean, we're really trying to hit everything, and I wish I had some tech stuff coming soon. I do have a video coming up I'm going to plug right now that's kind of more on the engineering side. I want to see how that takes. But yeah, I don't know. I appreciate it, by the way. I mean,
yeah, you want no sweat.
I slap those things together. I'll tell you what the hardest part of making those videos is finding the right meme. I've gone through like 22 clips of like different movies. And I'm like, nah, that doesn't feel right. And then you find the one that feels right, and you're like, yeah, okay, that's it. And then you have to. Then I take 2 hours editing the dumb little pom pom hat onto people in Premiere.
The scab hat.
I don't know how to do. I don't know how to do all the fancy like dial in and lock it to frames and stuff like that. So I'm just like frame move drag, frame move drag, frame move drag. But it makes for good humor. So
I don't even know how to do that. I'm sure there's a way to do it in Final Cut on the Mac, but I don't even know. But it's great. And on my website, I'm trying to keep up with it as much as I can. Or my YouTube page, rather, I'm trying to keep up with it as much as I can. I just put out a thing on the Elgato Stream Deck pedal,
which blows my mind. I watched that.
So I've used the pedal ever since the World of Warcraft Sound Blaster pedal was out. That's how old that was. And I used to use that for in-game chat. So when we were playing WoW, we were playing on Vent and Ventrilo, and I would just be playing with hand. I had keyboard, mouse, and trying to give commands. So I would just like hit the foot pedal to talking to the mic, back off. It was just after a while, it got very easy to do that. And I've always kept a foot pedal because they stopped updating the software, supporting the software for the foot pedal. So the foot pedal I had wouldn't work. But you can go on eBay and buy like a $15 foot pedal. It comes with a cheap Windows 95 application that you can run in compatibility mode on Windows 10 or Windows 11 to still function. And basically it just binds it to one key. But at least with this one, you can make it hardware. You can make it switch. The software is so robust on the Elgato side. You can make it switch. Like if you're running Tarkov, these 3 buttons mean one thing. If you're kind of like profiles on a mouse,
right? If
you're playing, Counter-Strike, these 3 buttons can mean, because there's 3 pedals, right? Could mean something else. So, there's a little bit of flexibility that you didn't have with like, hey, this button means space. It means space all the time. Doesn't matter what app you're in, or if you're in Windows, it's just space. Right. So there's a little bit more flexibility. So check out that video, and we'll be reviewing another piece of hardware this Wednesday, which will be. And I asked Damon to take a look at that. I'm this weird, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. Like I wanted to play my PC games and my Mac. I wanted one computer. I wanted one device that does everything, and that's kind of like my neurosis. Like I just want I want simplicity to the max, and it's gotta do everything that I need it to do,
That's tough.
and without compromise, and that's
Right.
very, very difficult to find.
Right.
So I really liked. I used to have some of those window tablets that actually like fold over the other way, and they become a tablet, but they're so heavy. I mean,
They are.
basically the keyboard and innards, it just, the laptop clams open and comes around the other side, and it's like tablet mode. And they come with pens, and I've had an HP one like that, and it was okay. The small ones are good, nice and light, but they didn't have anything but the Intel Iris graphics in them, or the onboard graphics, so it couldn't play any games.
Old HD.
And I needed to do three things. I need to be able to do graphic art. I need to be able to do my productivity work. I need to be able to play games, and it's got to be light and portable. So that's a really, really difficult kind
Doc,
of niche.
I want to be 6'4" and eat a couple thousand calories a day, but also be 100% prime shape without going to the gym.
Right. So it's like I'm like the horse chasing the carrot that's on a stick in front of me that keeps promising that
It's
this will
coming
do it.
though.
Yeah, but this is the biggest thing that I've seen. It's called the ROG Flow Z13. It's a 2022
Oh, yes.
model. It was released showed up on CES at the last CES, and I think it's Vegas has CES if I remember.
Here I am talking shit. I forgot about that, and that actually does solve a lot of those things.
So this is a 2-pound tablet, so it's a little bit heavier than a Surface Pro. I have the Surface Pro 8 right now, and I have an external GPU, an eGPU. I have a 3060 Ti in the external GPU. That I figured, I can have this portable unit, but if I decide I'm going to go somewhere, I want to play some games with the guys, I'll just bring the eGPU with me, throw it in the back of my car, and when I want to plug it in, I'll play it.
Right.
But this will be a little bit of a performance hit, but we're going to see how it does. There's two flavors of this, the ROG Flow Z13. It is a tablet. It comes with the keyboard, unlike the Surface Pro 8, which has, I think, a $200 keyboard option. It comes with a pen, I believe. It better come with a pen. And it has a 3050 Ti, which I think is only a laptop card. I don't think you can buy a 3050 Ti in a desktop. I think 3060 is as low as it goes.
No, I think you can buy a 3050 in a discrete form.
I thought that was only a laptop chipset.
You might be right. I'm looking right now. I'm kind of curious.
So also what's in here, you can get a 4K or a kind of like a 2K display. When it's a 13-inch display, I would recommend anybody just get the 2K. It's not worth it when the pixels are that small because it's a 13-inch display. I don't think you need 4K at that small form factor. And plus, it's just going to be double the pixels too.
So you can buy 3050s in discrete form.
You can?
I don't see a Ti, but I do see 3050s, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, according to Amazon.
It'll be a box with a stone on it that says 3050 written on a rock. I still remember when iPads first came out and somebody sold somebody an iPad on the street, literally bought a stone, put the stone in the iPad box, re-shrink wrapped it, but was actually a jerk enough to write iPad on the rock in paint. The word iPad. I mean, that's the backhand. Like
if you're scamming people,
it's a rock.
Yeah, you already don't have much morals, so why not add the iPad to the rock? I guess.
So this device has me pretty excited. It has a exchangeable M.2 SSD, 16 gigs of RAM. It has a 12th generation Core i9 12900H. Right? We said H.
Yeah, H is for the high.
So what's H's?
So anytime you see H, so Intel has a couple suffixes that they put on their CPU model numbers. So H stands for high quality graphics, which means that CPU specifically has some sort of integrated GPU. For example, this is the Iris Xe stuff. Then if you see K, it's unlocked. If you see HK, then it's an unlocked CPU with the Iris built in. So
right, and if you look at it, it says an MUX switch, so that kind of goes with that because that means that the GPU, the 3050 Ti, can be turned on and off, which means then it's going to go to that Iris chip when you turn off the
So it's a
internal GPU.
so I looked it up because I don't have a lot of laptop gaming experience. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you used to be able to switch between discrete stuff like that via Windows, and the Windows would determine what it goes through. But it actually MUX stands for multiplexer, which is just a fancy it's a fancy switch that just switches buses. I'm assuming to drive data from one side to the other with minimal interference. Would be my guess.
And this is all done for the point of saving power.
It's at and the switch is a hardware level. The multiplexer is at a hardware level, which is going to give you a lot more efficiency than a software switch. And a multiplexer is actually a certain type of circuit, so I'm assuming that that's what they mean by that. For you guys out there who are doing electrical engineering, it's a normal multiplexer that we're talking about. Google it. They use them in routers all the time, things like that.
Right.
So
this is it comes with a terabyte SSD, 16 gigabytes, 5200 megahertz RAM, DDR5 memory. As I said, the M.2 is user accessible. You can replace it. You can increase the size if you want. So there's expandability there. And on top of that, there is actually an SD card slot to add even more memory to the unit if you want. That goes in the back. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. And even if the 3050 Ti isn't giving you what you need, and this is probably for somebody who is looking to use this device as their like daily driver, like their home system that they're going to be able to take with them, they do actually also produce a external GPU that uses a proprietary connection to this device, and I'm trying to find the name of it because the name of it is completely escaping me right now. I don't know if you could look it up, Damon, while we while we talk. But I mean, there is another external, but it's a very, very thin device. So this is a secondary
dock, right?
lap. It's not a dock. It's an external GPU.
yeah, but I mean like it's let's see.
It is
the ROG XG mobile Revenant with external graphics. Oh, that looks like, yeah, that's it right there. You put the GPU inside of it and then it has a special adapter. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, there's a proprietary. Yep,
that would be it. 2021 ROG XG mobile.
Yeah,
it's a little black box. You plug your monitors and stuff into it. Yeah, okay.
It is. So basically, there's a proprietary connector on the side of the device. It has I guess it's supposed to be a bus that's even faster than Thunderbolt 4, and it's a dual connector. You plug it in, and you can power a 3080 laptop 3080, not a desktop 3080, which could even increase the performance even more if you wanted to use this at home. You just plug that in, and then boom, you have a much faster.
It seems like it requires it looks like it requires an external power plug.
Yeah, I would assume so. But I mean, you're going from a 3050 to a 3080. That is a decent jump. It's an expensive jump. If you look, I think it's $1,800 more. $1,500 if you want to buy that. Is it $1,500? Okay.
That's what I mean. Again, I'm looking at the 2021 model, so they have a couple different versions of it too. So,
right. So I think it's interesting. I'm excited about it. I have it ordered, and I was actually talking to the Asus. His name is Jake. Shout out to Jake, who was running a Twitch stream.
What's up, Jake?
And we were chatting with him on his Twitch stream. And next week, his new Twitch stream, he's running New World on this.
Wow.
So
okay.
That's coming, I think, Wednesday. So
maybe we'll link it.
We'll link his Twitch. We'll link his Asus Twitch account to the video in case anybody wants to check it out. But I'm going to put the eGPU Surface Pro 8, which is an 11th generation CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and I know that the eGPU is going to beat out this 3050 Ti. But with the 12th generation CPU, and maybe some of the point that it's not running from an external card versus an internal card, I want to see how close it gets and see what the specs are. So I'm going to do a video side by side on those. That's going to come up. I'm going to get it on Wednesday. I'll start doing the video soon.
That's very
And
interesting. I'm kind of looking at
then I'll
it.
sell then I'm going to sell my Surface to pay for it.
Yeah, that's how I do that too. I buy Fun Tag.
Or return this to Best Buy.
Yeah, but yeah, make Best Buy pay that bill.
Best Buy. Hey, listen, if you go Best Buy, remember that they price match, because even pre-orders, Best Buy's price was $100 more than everybody else. So I called them up. I'm like, hey, what the hell, man? Like everybody else is. I'm a Total Tech member. I pay the membership. Like, why do I have to pre-order it from you for $100 more? They're like, say no more. Buy it, and we'll credit you the $100 back. And I bought it. And just boom, yeah, no questions asked. I don't know if that's because I'm a Total Tech member. I don't think so, because I think they price match competitors anyway. Usually they say the price match has to be about something in stock. So here, this is a pre-order, but that means like nobody had it.
Right.
So they gave me, I already got the $106 back with tax. So
I'm gonna have to read about this. We have to talk about next time, because they're talking about the connector and some of the things, and I have some reserves. I'm interested to see what the actual performance is, because what I'm reading is it's like you don't get to put your own graphics card in it. It comes with one.
Oh, the add-on?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not an eGPU enclosure. It's the card with the plastic on it already, and
right.
It's only like an inch thick. So it's a laptop GPU.
It looks like the connector is a PCIe. It's 8 times PCIe, which is most of the time more than enough for graphics cards. But we're talking 3080, 3090. I'm curious what the bottleneck there. I'm just interested. When you get yours in, I'm really gonna be really interested to watch that video.
But I'm not gonna buy I'm not buying the eGPU.
No. All right.
Oh, you gotta be killing me, man! I can't.
We need roll the credits, roll the ads, so that we can buy the eGPU. I'm very interested to see.
Or maybe Asus ROG will give us the eGPU to test.
Yeah, hook it up, and I will break it down
and we'll send it back to you.
Yeah. In good form,
we won't be Linus Tech Tips and open it up with a screwdriver and go, oh, well, we cracked it. That sucks.
Yeah, I dropped it 3 times from the time I got it from the door to the table. Sorry, Linus. But
I watched him try to take things apart to see how they work and crack stuff, and it's like, oh man, this isn't good.
People get.
Then I assume he has to buy it then.
I'm curious if they do that with somebody like him.
Alone.
Yeah,
maybe they have a thing that says if you give it to them, they're not going to give it back.
Well, it's possible. I mean, that could be it. They give it. I mean, most of the time, those samples they just give it to you. And if that's the case, if some magical dots come and they send us one, I will tear it down in front of you live. I'll get out the oscilloscope and we'll take a look and see.
You have an oscilloscope?
I do. I have 2 of them actually. I got one from like 2000, like the late 90s. It's like the size of a TV, and then I have like a small modern one. Yeah.
I want you to wear some steampunk goggles. On the top of your head,
some welder goggles. Yeah. No, that's for those that understand, computer engineering is the electrical and the software. So I can do both. I prefer the software, but we'll tear it apart, Aces. We'll tear it apart.
Yeah. So let's see how. I'm assuming he's going to be running it with the 3080 eGPU on there. So not sure, but maybe he'll do both, so we can do a side by side.
I really hope there's no EVGA in there. Can you imagine a thing popping in live playing New World? It just pops.
No.
They fixed that though. They fixed that according to supposedly. It hasn't blown any of my RTX cards up, and I got 2 of them running it. So,
you're running SLI 3080s?
No. I'm saying I've had 2 RTX 30 series cards, and neither one of them have died from the New World. Though I know they were specific to EVGA 3090s, right, or the 3090 series.
The FTW3 series to be specific, which is the one card I had, and it did die.
They went crappy on the.
What was it?
They the voltage, the VRMs. They went cheap on the VRMs, and they were burning up, I think is what it was. And that can cause all sorts of problems.
I did the beginning level where you buy the ships and you're throwing all the skeletons.
Oh my god. You went offline. Okay, I hate to interrupt, but you went offline, and we're in Discord with the guys. We're on Discord with the guys, and I'm like, haha, I really hope Doc's card actually died. I was like, no. And everybody's like, no, his internet died. And then you sent me the message like, oh yeah, it popped. And I was like, you gotta be. I thought you were trolling. I went back to guys. I was like, he said his card popped, but I think he's trolling. And then you never came back. And then you came back with the spare cards you had. And I was like, no way. I saw that in it happened in real time. So it actually, that was crazy, but that's a graphics card problem. I'm not going to blame New World for that. And maybe because I'm biased as the software guy, but yeah, you need to fix your shit.
It was pretty frustrating because I was like, I was like, please tell me, because some people like, yeah, they rebooted it and it worked, and I rebooted it and none of the lights on the card were running. All the other lights in the PC were running, except where the power, where the 8-pin connectors plug in for the power. There was a red light in front of one of the 3 of them. I guess there's some sort of warning light, and the middle red light was on. And when I called EVGA and I told them, they were like, "Say no more. We'll RMA the card. Do you want to send the old one back and we'll send one in, or you want to just give us your credit card number and we'll just ship one out tomorrow? And when you get that, you just give us, we'll send an enclosed box. You just send the old one back, and then we just don't charge your card." So I did that. It still took like a week to get the card back, which is, I understand it's a difficult situation, but like if someone uses their PC every day and they only have one computer, I mean, thank God, like some of these motherboards have onboard HDMI that you can like get by and at least like still be able to do something.
Right.
But luckily I had the eGPU, so I plugged that in Thunderbolt, because I actually have Thunderbolt ports on the back of my PC CPU.
And I got the job done.
As a case. And I was able to plug back in. It took a little wiring, and then I had to install the extra software. But I was able to play, but I got too shell-shocked, and I never turned on New World again.
I was nervous. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When we got that game, being the engineer, I had every monitoring tool I had known to man. I'm watching VRM. I'm watching hotspot temps. I'm watching memory temps, GPU temps. And I had a 3070 Ti from MSI. MSI? Yeah, MSI. I had a 3070 Ti from MSI, the OC, the Tri-Fan or whatever, their OC variation. And it definitely got hot. I mean, I hit 90C, but it would throttle before it got anywhere where I start to get nervous. And that's hotspot temperatures. That's not the core. The core would sit around the low 80s, which is kind of where I have it set. But the hotspot would hit, mid 90s. And I was like, keep an eye on it. But it never went higher than that. And living in Colorado, where it's cold as shit in the wintertime, my computer's next to my window, I'd pop my window open, and that GPU would suck in that ice cold air, and it would drop at 10 degrees C. So I'm like huddled in a hoodie playing New World while my GPU's like competing with the cold air outside. It actually got so hot that the snow around my window would melt and then turn into ice. So you could see the ice around the window where the computer was venting. Oh, come on, NVIDIA. You're busting. Global warming, right there. So, yeah, we're going to play New World, though. We're going to play New World, and hopefully we don't, Doc doesn't die down. But I have a 3080 from Asus, and it lags in New World. You'd be surprised. The New World sucks when it comes to efficiency, but it has not burnt up. And actually, my 3080 runs cooler than the 3070 in that.
So let me at least get this Asus in, so that God forbid I lose something.
Don't you have a 3070?
Have a backup.
I think you had a 3060 or something floating around.
I do. I guess I can plug it back in, but it's a pain in the ass. But yeah, just wait till Wednesday. Just make me feel better.
That's fair. That's fair.
This will be interesting, and it'll provide some decent content. So
it'd be a great YouTube video. It'd be a short video, but it'd make some good laughs. Expensive laughs.
There's a lot of videos of YouTube about it crashing, and then people like getting all pissed off and smacking their computer and punching their screen and cursing New World, cursing Jeff Bezos, cursing everybody.
I know. Why'd you punch your monitor though? Like
then there was some guy. There was some guy, I forget his name, but he was trying to reproduce this forever, and he was like, he had the card in, and he just couldn't get it to happen. He couldn't get the card to burn, and he was like trying. And I mean, like, we're gonna figure this out.
It's environmental too. I mean, if you had a good case for it, unless he was trying to smother it, but I mean, it just depends. I mean, that's the silicon lottery is a real thing, but that was a design flaw on EVGA's part, and they're like, well,
and they admitted that to me. They admitted that to me because they asked for the serial number of the device when I called them up, and they're like, yeah, that's the like one of the first runs of the card. Where they have been known to have this problem, so we're obviously not going to give you anything around that time. We've long since fixed this problem, and we're going to send you a new card. If God forbid it happens again, call us back. We'll RMA that card too. But so that made me a little bit nervous, but at least they admitted that like there was something on the first run.
That's big.
I got to tell the quick story of how I got this card because it was freaking hilarious. So I was, I got married. And Damon was at the wedding. He was nice enough to fly.
Beautiful wedding.
It was fun. A good wedding. It was gorgeous. It was perfect weather, and we were looking for a honeymoon, but we're in the middle of COVID. We didn't want to fly anywhere. We couldn't do much. Half the stuff was closed down, so we waited a couple of months because we got married in October, and the beginning of October, so it was still nice and warm, or warm for that time of year. And we decided, you know what, we're going to go up to New England, and then we're going to go to Maine. So we're going to go to Boston for 2 days. Then we're going to go visit Opposition, who lived in Connecticut at the time before he moved back to Turkey. And then we're going to go up to Maine for a couple days. We're going to make a road trip, and we're going to drive back. So I heard of this store called Micro Center.
Love Micro Center.
Center.
It's the mecca for nerds.
Micro Center is like, think of Best Buy, but it's 95% computer stuff.
Home Depot.
And yeah, it's like Home Depot for computers.
Computer Home Depot, yeah.
There's a section for maybe like, I don't know.
Yeah, like crafty,
TVs,
little electronic crafting stuff.
TVs and 3D printers and stuff like that, but most of it's PC and PC parts.
Newegg had a physical location.
Right. So we actually do have one in New Jersey. I've been to that store a couple times. I dragged my wife into there a couple times. She's like, "This is like me going in this is like you coming in Ulta. You understand that?" I'm like, "Yeah, but
how many times have I gone to Ulta? You can handle this one Micro Center trip."
Yes, right.
Holding 9 bags in the purse.
I kept her in there for an hour.
Good.
Looking at all the boxes.
Good. I hope you're listening. Good.
And she's like, "I'm hungry," but I'd never been in one before. So I was in Boston. We were leaving. We were going up to see Opposition. Actually, no, sorry. We saw Opposition. We were going up to Maine.
Okay.
It was snowing. And I said, you know what? There's a Micro Center. There's a Micro Center around here. I've never been to one. Can we drive in Cambridge? So we drove over to Cambridge. They have stored. This is when we were in the height of the GPU
crisis,
crypto farming crisis, silicone shortage, double the price of typical GPUs. And literally you go into the store and it's like, there's signs on the door that basically say, don't even ask if we have video cards.
Right. There
are none. So I listened. I didn't ask. So I'm looking at cables. I'm just walking up and down the aisles because I've never seen this before. So I'm like,
all right.
I'm like Tom Hanks in Big when he's in like the Toys R Us and he's running through all the aisles.
Yeah.
And some guy, and he looked like a drug dealer. It was funny. He was walking around and he had these papers under his armpit. And he comes up to the two of us. My wife and I are in the aisle, and he comes up to us. He goes, "Hey, Are you guys looking for a 3090 by chance?" And I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
He's like,
maybe I am.
We got 9 of them in. If you'd like one, I give you this paper. You take it up to the register, and they'll give you a 3090. So I'm like, oh, how much? And I'm going over the specs because I wasn't even in the market for a card, so I wasn't even sure. I'm like, well, I got a 2080. He's like, oh, but a 3090 is like,
that's a lot
40% faster, and blah blah blah. So I'm like, so he's like, he hands me, it was like the golden ticket, Willy Wonka, right? He's like, here.
Grandpa jumped out of bed.
so I went up there and I walk away and I did the horrible thing. I'm like, we go to my wife. I'm like, see if you can get one. See if you can get a second one. And they wouldn't. It was like one per family. One. That's it. So it was fine. But I paid it. But this is right when the 3090s came out. So
yes.
I lucked out and got one. I was all excited, and New World tanked that. So I'm running my second one, and I haven't had any issues. But I haven't played New World. So we'll give it a shot.
I got lucky with mine, honestly. So I could only find a 3070 Ti. I wanted a 3080 or 3080 Ti because of what I play. I didn't want a 3090 because I didn't really want to spend the money on it. But I kind of wish I would have. But that hindsight's always 2020. But nonetheless, right. I'm looking. I got bots. I hate to be that guy, but I have software I'm running. I'm watching YouTube videos. I do like stock market stuff, so I'm constantly watching feeds and charts, and I just couldn't get one. And I'm the Newegg shuffle, the Newegg raffle. I was on that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden on Facebook Marketplace, the guy posts something and it pops up, and I didn't have anything on there. I was just looking one day, and he's like, "I have a 3070 Ti unopened." I bought it, and then my buddy found a 3080 Ti, the 3080 that I wanted, 3080 Ti, literally an hour later, and I want to sell this car because I bought that. I called that guy. He goes, yeah, I got it. I'm like, I'm on my way. I jumped in my pickup truck and did about 100 miles an hour in my lifted truck all the way through Fort Collins to get to this guy. And he, I had some sketchiness on it. I had to pull cash out, that kind of stuff. But when he gave it to me, it was sealed. He's like, dude, open it up. It's all there. I opened it up. The card's sealed, ready to go. And I was like, no way. And I think I paid MSRP. I think I paid $1,100 for it. I paid MSRP on the dot, or $1,000 for it. And then one day I've been on the shuffle still. And one day I built my wife a computer and she was running my old 1070 Ti's in SLI, which is a horrible combination. But it got the job done. And I get an email saying, hey, you were selected for 3080, an Asus OC 3080. Do you want this? And I was like, yeah. I went to my wife. I was like, okay, listen, hear me out. I'm about to spend, I don't know, it was like $1,400 or whatever. Understand that nobody can buy these. And I got selected. And she's like, I don't care. So I was like, running back to my office real quick and bought it off Newegg. And then now she's got my 3070 Ti. Her first gaming computer has got a 3070 Ti. I was like, how lucky you
win-win.
are. Yeah. I was like, you're like 1%
awesome.
of people get their first computers with a 3070 Ti like that. So, but yeah, they're hard to get. I was like a kid in the candy store when I got mine.
It's easing up now. I've saw a lot of posts online that like when you go to the GPU locker at Micro Center, they're full.
Yeah, they're coming back now.
It's coming back. So, don't be paying full price or overprice for GPUs right now, because you can probably get them. And unfortunately, I think there's only like 14 Micro Center stores in the US or something. So
one in Denver for you Colorado people.
Yeah, one in Jersey, one in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
People over here. So I've been to both of those, but they've always had cards when I've gone, except for that one day in Massachusetts when they said they had none and they lied. But literally, you can go in there and they'll try to sell you what they think you need. Well, you're running 2K, you're running 4K, you're streaming at the same time. Using
here's an AMD card.
Yeah, do you want AMD? I'm like, no. So,
is it green? No, then I don't want to.
And then they only allow you to buy one card a month. So they actually watch you so that you cannot keep coming back and say,
I believe that.
Next day, give me another card.
I believe that.
Which is right, because, people legitimately want them for their gaming
scalping
PCs, and they don't want them scalped or using them for mining rigs or, whatever.
Right.
But, good for them. But I guess you should be getting these things much easier now. So.
And don't be afraid of the low hash rate stuff. I didn't want any of those, and I don't have any of them, but I did some research in the latter half, and I realized it's a software block. So you're not having a hardware limitation, and I would be hard pressed that once this dies down, then NVIDIA may unlock those LHR cards, because their price range wasn't any different on them. They're the same damn price. They're easier to buy.
Those are the ones that decrease the mining efficiency, right?
Right. They don't, the hash rate computation and it's not even like the card has a limitation at hardware level. The driver is able to detect certain operations that are done through Bitcoin mining, stuff like that, and it limits it. And I'm sure a smart software engineer out there could probably reverse engineer the dog shit out of those drivers and make it happen. But don't be afraid of those. If you need a card and you find one, snag it. It'll work just as good as any other card out there. So
that's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But crazy 3080 stuff.
So, a little bit more somber note. We were talking about Tarkov, and you're seeing a lot of Ukrainian memes put out on Tarkov. Escape from Ukraine, a
Tarkov DLC.
Trapped in Kiev or whatever. Names.
There's a guy named Kiev Camper on Tarkov in the multiplayer lobby. Quick disclaimer: dark humor incoming. Just throwing it out there.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, you're in the military.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? First of all, I just want to because like these topics anymore, these are always very touchy topics for anybody. And this is the way society is kind of going, which I don't like. And it's almost like the stuff that shall not be spoken.
Right.
And a lot of this stuff is opinion. What president you like.
Right.
What pronoun discussions. There's all these topics now that if you have an opinion on them that may go against popular opinion, that, I mean, that's the basis of cancel culture.
The problem with people today is they think their opinion matters, and it doesn't. That's like the value of it. When anytime, even in like my workplace, as a professional individual giving a professional opinion, it's a professional opinion, and all the engineers I work with will be like, "No, I think you're dumb," and then I have to sit there and come up with the reasons why I'm not dumb. It's not that they don't say that, but that's the gist of it, right? And I'm assuming doctors are the same way. I can't imagine that you're like, I think this is a diagnosis. No, you're dumb. This is what it is. Now you have to explain why you think it's that way. But we grew up in the era of time where you had an opinion and people were like, shut up, nobody cares. You know what I mean? I was always told as a kid, opinions like assholes, everybody has one. But in the sense of Ukraine, that kind of stuff, and kind of maybe the cancel culture, without proper discussion, there's no evolution in thought. And it's jarring that we live in a time where people are willing to shut other people down and not even have a discussion because that's not what they watched on CNN or Fox News, depending on what side of the fence you lean on. And that's bullshit. You need to disagree with each other, and you need to talk it out and be cognitive of it. And there's been times where I've had disagreements politically, and I've been wrong. I had the buddy of mine had the stats ready to go, and I did the research, and he was right, and it changed my opinion. And I hate to say it, but I don't see enough of that. And I'm not trying to be like the guy on the put myself on the stool here, but we need people like that. And I've had friends who are complete opposite political parties than me and political feelings, and I bring down the facts or I make them watch something like that, and they've had their opinion. Now they may not change sides or completely change their entire belief, but that core subject now is more educated to them. And I think the Ukraine thing right now, I think is blindly being followed. I think that the United States has always been anti-Russian, rightfully so. The Cold War and things like that, but there's a lot of history on that side of the country that a lot of the people who have these opinions have no idea about. And then all of a sudden they're armchair generals and they're geopolitical experts of the Eastern Bloc countries, and they're all in Putin's head, and they all know this kind of stuff, and nobody knows nothing. And, there's a lot of stuff out there that just doesn't get surfaced. Now, I am not pro-Russian by any means. Nor am I pro-Ukraine. I'm pro-American, and I want to see us succeed over anybody else. And I don't want to see us get involved in a conflict that's not really ours to fight. But the Ukraine and Russia stuff's been going on a long time. And despite what you see on CNN and things like that, there's a lot of people who are very pro-Russian there. There's always been a lot of issues. And I think there's a little more to the subject now. I think people should take some time and watch some history about the Ukraine and Ukraine's military and how Ukraine became a country basically overnight after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and look at the presidential maps and look at this, look at that, and the civil conflicts they've had. I think it's vastly more complicated. And then in addition to that, I think it's worth understanding that despite Russia and U.S. having an armistice and not blowing each other up, we're still not best friends. And NATO is not something Russia is a part of. And if you're a country and you got NATO creeping up on your borders, I think there's some defensive reasons he's doing. Now, I don't agree with the discriminate bombing and things that you're seeing. But people forget that we did that exact same thing in Iraq and in Afghanistan. You see a lot of news articles about people like, oh, they're bombing apartment buildings with rockets and stuff like that. And it's like, well, despite it being a more conventional warfare, I hate to say it, but CNN is not showing Ukrainians hiding in these buildings, sniping from them or using that's a dangerous game. It is. U.S. is great at conventional warfare, but doesn't mean we should do it.
Right. My whole thought about this whole thing was just, I watched a video where I think it was a Russian gymnast was, I guess, everybody, all countries have, they have a spin, right? They have an agenda, they have a spin, they have something that including they tell us. The people, including us, right? We drop freedom bombs. We talked about that. We drop bombs that, we have a way of spinning what we do to make it sound like we're doing the right thing. And it's not smoke and mirrors. Like, people feel like we really need to do this because no one likes to go to war. But for some reason, whether Putin is like psychotic or whatever people want to say, or like just has just enraged, or just he was part of the KGB, I believe, at one time in his younger years.
Yes, he was.
He feels he needs to do this. So let's go down to a basic level. He feels that he needs to do this for whatever reason. Now, there's great videos. I know Dak on our the Modern Boomer Discord. I believe he posted a video about like
Yes.
why.
Yeah, and there's an Army infantry guy who did that, a senior infantryman.
There's a geographic, military advantage of having Ukraine be part of Russia again.
It's a buffer.
Right, and there's limited access to that to the western area of Russia, to which Ukraine, if they had that, there would be more of a tactical advantage against the rest of the NATO countries. So there's a whole big thing. But for whatever reason, Putin feels that they need Ukraine back under Soviet control. So they release statements. This is why. Now I did see them say denazification of Ukraine, and they said some. And this was his own.
Sometimes that's translational. Yeah,
it could be. But I mean, for whatever reason, so there's going to be some people in the country that agree with him, right?
100%.
Because there are people who are Russians who are very pro-Russian, just like there are Americans who are very pro-American, and they agree that this is the right thing to do. So a gymnast, I guess, had some symbol. I think it was the Z. I think the Z is symboled on a lot of the Russian military units. And he had that on his sleeve. And he was in some sort of competition, and he was canceled for wearing that. And that's basically telling people you can't have an opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, like, he's not coming to this gymnastics competition, putting, getting in everybody's face about it. He's just competing. But he has a feeling, kind of like how people put on Facebook and they put a flag on, right? He put a symbol on his shirt. But because that's against popular opinion with where he was, I believe he was thrown out.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with that, because this guy is not part of the military. He's a citizen of the country, as far as I'm aware. Now, I could be wrong.
He's just proud of his country. Maybe
he's proud of his country, and he is being canceled for that. And I understand that you can come back and say, well, this is ridiculous. They're doing the wrong thing. But, in his eyes, it's kind of like Anakin versus Obi-Wan, right? In my mind, you're the bad guy. So the point is it's based on what you're told. It's based on propaganda. It's based on, coercive speech by the government. But there's going to be some people in Russia who agree with Putin.
Right.
And are they not allowed to?
Right.
Does that obviously make them horrible people that should never do anything for the rest of life because they agree with their country's president?
Could you imagine if the
I'm
U.S.
not sure that's right.
Could you imagine we kicked out people because maybe they're pro-Afghanistan, or pro-Iraq,
Right.
or I'm sure there was plenty of people who were very pro-Taliban and things like that. Yeah, I don't believe in canceling anybody. Now, if you're doing some really messed up stuff like, sex trafficking or something like that, then all day, don't support that. You're a piece of shit. That's universal at a social, moral level. But being a citizen of a country where you believe in something, that's tough. And he's not committing these heinous crimes in himself. And he's not, death to Ukraine is not written on his arm. Right. And he's right. Russia does have some concerns there. They've wanted the Donbass region for a while and Crimea for the warm water port. If you're interested, please look up Russia's cold water, warm water port issue. Look up the history of how many times Russia's been invaded to that flatlands over there. There's no mountains, there's no rivers, there's nothing like that can really stop an invading force. Germany utilized that and went all the way to Stalingrad. Now they lost to the snow and, a million Russian soldiers who basically just threw bodies at the war. But Russia has had a pretty rough history in conflict in that area. And with NATO being what it is, I mean, we live in a comfortable country with the U.S. military on our back. But if you were an opposing country and the U.S. military is on your border, I'd be uncomfortable too. And I'm biased. I love my military. I love everything about it. I'm very proud of the military we have. But if I was Putin, I wouldn't want U.S. troops sitting on my border. And if Ukraine becomes a NATO country, I promise you, there'll be U.S. bases in there with U.S. troops and U.S. missiles and U.S. vehicles, and we're ready to go at any moment. And that's scary. That's scary for an opposing country. Again, I'm not agreeing with invading a country. I think peace talk should always happen. As somebody who's seen conflict, I don't agree that conflict is the right answer. But Putin is a man of action, and despite how crazy we think he is, compared to a lot of leaders we've had, he's pretty articulate, and I'm sure he has his reasons for doing it. And I also think that Russia's struggling economically. I think they've been in a very tight squeeze since the fall of the USSR, and this might be some desperate ploy. But like I was saying earlier, I am not a geopolitical expert. I have know very, very little about the Eastern Bloc countries and that kind of stuff. And I'm saying a lot of this from my own research and my own love for history of war, history of conflict. And I've always found the Russian and Slavic language and their history very Polish and stuff like that. We have some Polish friends. I find it very interesting. But I'm not biased either way. I think Ukraine should be a country, and I think Russia should leave them alone. But I think there's a happy medium somewhere. And sadly, in a perfect world, we would come up with some perfect answer. But we don't live in a perfect world, and somebody's gonna have to, There's a famous quote. It goes, "Bullets change governments." Or sorry, votes don't change governments. Bullets do. Actually, I think it's from the movie Lord of War. I could be wrong, correct me, but it's very accurate. It's very accurate, and I think that that's kind of what this is. I think Russia is having some trouble, but the disinformation isn't just Russia. Ukraine has put out a lot of disinformation about what's going on. Like the Ghost of Kiev, which was that crazy fighter pilot. That's not true. He doesn't exist. The crazy special forces guy that's out there, slaughtering Russian soldiers does not exist. Not a real thing. And actually, the video that they were showing for a while was DCS, which is that aircraft combat simulation game. It's very realistic. Yeah.
There was somebody who did an Arma video too, and it was considered to be a real. I can't believe that they would confuse Arma, which is basically CPU generated graphics.
It's dog water.
I thought it was like a real video.
Yeah,
I saw that too.
That's rough. And they're posting some crazy numbers about the troops they've killed and the tanks they've destroyed and stuff like that. But if you actually take the time and look at the actual conflict, and I never ever promote watching combat footage. For those who've not experienced it, can definitely scar you. But there's a lot out there that shows that Russia is not as struggling as they are. And there's a lot of stuff that shows Ukraine is being as successful as they are. So a police officer friend of mine once said there's every situation's a triangle. You got point A and point B, or point A and point C, but point B is typically the reality, and it's a mix of both. So I think that everybody should do their research, and I don't think we should cancel anybody because we have an opinion one way or another. I truly think that we should take the time to do the research. And if you truly feel one way or not about it, donate, get involved, help, supply clothes, supply on anything you can to help if you really believe in that. If I was a single man and I had the faith about Ukraine, some people do, I'd go and do their Foreign Legion with my previous military experience. And those are things that other guys can do. And there's guys out there. I also want to say that some of those guys out there, those soldiers who are out there doing it, some of those guys are still war hungry. It's very hard to come back to civilian life and live the way you live. And then you see something like that, where like come back and live in that chaotic environment again. And some guys, they live up, that's what they do. That's their success. That's where they belong. And so they're going to go over there and do that with no consequences of issues. So just to close it up, I have no one opinion or another. My opinion is that we shouldn't be fighting, and that people don't deserve to die, and that we should have better peace talks. But I don't agree with our current administration, and I don't agree with Russia's tactics. And I think that we all could come up to a better solution, but we're not going to get that with the shit whole political environment we live in right now. It is what it is.
My whole point though is just it really drove something home with me when I saw that, like, basically what's just happening is the cancel culture. And I'm not a big fan of cancel culture.
It's not good.
I just think that, people need to come up with their own opinion and realize that other people's opinions are valid, provided those opinions are not like what you said, sex trafficking. Oh, I think sex trafficking is good. I think pedophilia is good. There are certain things that are just against the law, against morals, against ethical behavior. And some of this may be, some of the war may be, but the point is that you see so much propaganda on each side. Sometimes it's hard to determine what's the truth. And that's that ABC that you just talked about with your police friend. So the point is, just keep an open mind. Try to respect people's opinion. You don't have to agree with people's opinion, but you don't have to destroy them for their opinion either.
Be educated.
Be educated, have educated talks, and maybe you'll learn something. Maybe they'll learn something. And communication is what, makes the world more rounded.
I mean, I don't want to shit on our own country, but go back and watch the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Was it 03 when we invaded Iraq? 03 after 9/11, right?
Well,
Let's see.
Yeah, I think so. Right?
Let's see. I'm just curious now because I don't want to give bad facts. Um,
2003 invasion of Iraq.
Yeah. Okay.
First stage of the Iraq War.
Yeah, CNN. So I was a young kid when that happened, but CNN streamed that live, and you're watching United. So the United States has a doctrine called shock and awe, and which is where basically we do a couple of things. And I'm not a general, and I haven't been to war college. This is just my knowledge. Sorry, I have this wonderful kitty here. This is just my knowledge of my own love for my military and having been around people and actually have relationships with people who are high ranking and have those discussions. But we bomb the absolute dog shit of Iraq. And if you watch that video, it's one tactical strike after another tactical strike. And, you know, just recently CNN and DW News is like, wow, they bombed government buildings. Well, if you watch the 2003 invasion of Iraq, what do you think we bombed? Government buildings. We bombed government in military installations. We bombed everything and anything. And we're not Russia. We hit with precision, and our bombs rarely miss, and they screw a lot of shit up. They're very powerful. And if you watch that video, it's 3 days of us just bombing the dog shit of Iraq. And I think people forget that the psychological aspect of that is that they're being bombed so much, so consistently that by the time we invade, their army's exhausted. They just been up and they can't shoot us down with those traditional munitions that they have. You know, I'm sure they could, but again, we have, you know, we're who we are. And there's so much footage of just the constant bombing. And then when we rolled in Iraq, I think technically we beat Iraq in 100 hours. So that doesn't include, now I'm not talking about, you know, guerrilla warfare and the separatist stuff that we're dealing with, but the traditional Republican army that we fought, we beat them in 100 hours, and they were surrendering groves. And it's violent. In the Desert Storm, when we invaded Iraq because of the invasion of Kuwait, the highway of death, which is a very traditional military concept, of bombing the front of a convoy, bombing the back of the convoy, and then carpet bombing the convoy until it's black. And people are upset about that, but that's conventional warfare. And we're not perfect either. We've done a lot of horrible things overseas. But the big umbrella that people need to remember is that that's war. And General Mattis said in an interview one time, he was asked, you know, what do you feel about civilian deaths in war? And, you know, his thing was like, you know, we don't want civilian deaths. That's never the goal, but this is war and people die. And that's a horrible thing to say, but it's the sad reality. And we wouldn't even be the country we are today, wouldn't have the things we had today if there had not been conflict. So we should do our best to avoid it and do our best to find better ways to solve world's problems without conflict. But it's always going to be conflict. Always. It's just human nature. We've been killing ourselves since we could put rocks and sticks together. So nobody's perfect. Please educate yourself. And I don't care if you're pro-Ukraine or pro-Russia, or you don't care in the middle, or, you know, you just like Call of Duty games, whatever floats your boat. I'm not going to cancel somebody for that. You know, your opinion's your opinion, and we can disagree. It doesn't mean we can't have a beer together. And I think that the world needs to do that. And educated, and that kind of debative conversation is critical. That's how people develop. You know what I mean? I've been wrong about so many things, and I'm probably wrong about stuff here now, and I'm sure people will let me know. And I promise you, I will read up and do my research and move forward with it. I've been wrong before. I'm human. But, you know, I'm not going to cancel anybody. I'm not going to tear somebody down for that. It's not fair. Even my own country, you know? Not fair. And I'm very pro US, and I'm very pro our military, and I would back our military all day. And at the end of the day, it's a job when I was over there, but I didn't agree with the stuff that they were doing. I didn't agree with stuff that we were doing, but I don't know. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess, you know, it's the world we live in. So,
I mean, you know, everybody has their own opinion, and just, you know, respect other people's opinion. I mean, that's the real kicker here, and war is never good, but
help where you can.
So, yes. Do what you can to help. So I think we hit all the stuff we wanted to talk about. Usually we have a bullshit topic, but I mean, it was like all bullshit topics today because we didn't have an intro like we had on the last podcast.
Yeah, no, so, we're pretty crazy everywhere. But you know, that's the great thing about podcasts is we're here to talk, we're here to discuss, and it's almost like you're with the conversation with us, the people who are listening. And these are going to get better and collected as we go. And please tell us more. Please tell me I'm an idiot. Yeah. What we could do better, what you think we already do good. You know, like a good guy I watch on Nico, he always says, give me a thumbs up if you like this video, give me a thumbs down, let me know what you don't like so I can make it better. And
there's no thumbs down anymore, though.
I know. Speaking of safety culture, you know, you can't hurt my feelings. You can try, but constructive criticism sometimes can be horrible and great, and we'll take all of it. So,
you learn more from your mistakes than you do your successes. So
yes,
just comment, get involved, give us your opinion. Put the comments underneath the video on the YouTube site. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know how you think. If you have any questions for us, let us know. If there's anything you want to see or hear about, let us know. Damon, I was just thinking while you were talking, I would love to see you do an overclocking video. I mean, that would be a cool thing to see.
That is that's been beat to death, but I would like to do quick overclock for those who just want to get something up and running without having to dial in, millivolts consistently 32 times.
Right.
There's a lot of quick stuff. Yeah, we should do something like that.
Just the biggest bang for your buck, make it quick and easy because, some of those enthusiast overclocking videos can get pretty hairy.
God, they're horrible.
Watch them, and they're like, "Let's try this." Okay.
I dropped it 0.5 millivolts.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah,
and it's just I'd like to see just a quick and dirty. What you think of some of the software that does the auto overclock? I know Asus makes software like that. I'm running an Asus board. It has an auto overclock. It kind of tests it. Intel makes their own auto overclock software in a way. But I know this is completely off topic, but it's just this is the stuff that we enjoy.
Yeah.
We enjoy talking about video games. We enjoy talking about technology, world events, and we'll eventually creep over to the finer things in life too. Yep. But again, just let us know. Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Please get involved. And a lot of content coming. And I know we're kind of running out of time, but I've got a video coming up. Yeah. I bought an Intel Phi, which is one of the old kind of computational coprocessor cards for AI stuff. I'm going to do trying to figure out how to play that. I want to learn how to put Snake on it or something. We're going to play around with that. It's going to be a lot of fun stuff. And we want to do more. Yeah, we want to do more. And I'm actually tempted to do some of these military reacts kind of videos. A good buddy of mine, Sanchez, and I reacted to an aircraft carrier video that I've been working on for a while now. So some of that stuff's be coming soon. If that's stuff you guys like as well, please let me know. That's going to be very probably biased in some sense because we're both U.S. military members or was vets, but he's still active. Bless his heart, Air Force man. But a lot of good stuff coming. So just be patient with us, guys.
I got a preview of that video. It was very good.
Yeah, it's interesting. We got kind of hit with the copyright, so I'm going to try to clean it up a little bit but come on, we're acting to whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, it is.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for watching. We are at 1 hour and 48 minutes, so this is a long one, but we hit a lot of different topics. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, follow us we are on, Jesus, what are we on? You're on TikTok. You're on YouTube. You're not doing Facebook stuff. You're doing TikTok. You're on YouTube. Yeah, you're doing Twitch sometimes.
I actually started Instagram for my workout stuff, which is going to be coming here soon. So I'll get that linked up.
Yeah, we got to do some health stuff. I obviously have to do some health stuff. I do the medical word of the day. I do shorts on YouTube, just launching YouTube videos as much as I can.
Those are great, by the way.
More on Twitch. You what?
The medical words of the day are great, by the way.
Yeah, they're usually crazy terms like. What did I do? Singultus and
nut in your sleep. The fancy word for that one. I knew what that was off the gate. I don't know why. I just somewhere in my brain's like, I know what that is. I don't even have to listen to the video.
But stay tuned and hope you guys are enjoying it. We're enjoying it, and we will talk to you guys next time. We'll release these podcasts. I think we said, every couple of weeks we'll throw another one out. We're not on a hard and fast schedule, but when we feel there's good news to talk about, we'll throw one of these out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, about once a week, I think we're going, or every 2 weeks. So yeah, we're getting dialed in, guys. It's a new ship. Get the sales going. So
all right, guys. Good seeing you. Have a good day.